What really happened to Aaliyah? From her rise as the princess of R&B to her tragic death at just 22, Aaliyah's story continues to raise questions. Her stunning $5 million mansion now sits abandoned, and her $1 million townhouse remains untouched, as if frozen in time. But beyond these empty homes lies a deeper curiosity. Who inherited her fortune? And how much was she really worth when she died? Her connections to R. Kelly and the attention from Jay-Z add even more layers to her story. Was it just a tragic end, or something more? Stick around to uncover the truth. Inside Aaliyah's former $1 million townhouse that nobody wants. Aaliyah's former $1 million townhouse is now a silent shell of its glamorous past. A once stunning property that, surprisingly, nobody seems to want. Tucked away in a quiet neighborhood, this now abandoned home has become a point of curiosity for fans and urban explorers alike. Once belonging to the beloved Princess of R&B, the townhouse offers a glimpse into the private world of a star whose life was tragically cut short. Aaliyah purchased the townhouse at the height of her career, when she was dominating the charts and stepping into acting. The home, elegant yet modest by celebrity standards, was a reflection of her style, sophisticated yet grounded. Now, years later, the house sits empty, stripped of its former warmth, but still holding traces of the life it once held. Walking through the house, it's clear that it was something special. For starters, the townhouse is equipped with an elevator, an unexpected luxury for a space of its size. The bathroom is massive, featuring 2 bathtubs and even a built-in phone, hinting at the level of comfort Aaliyah enjoyed in her personal sanctuary. Closet space? Insanely big. One room alone feels like it could have been its own apartment, designed to house a wardrobe fit for a star. The kitchen, while surprisingly small, boasts a fireplace in the dining area, a cozy touch in an otherwise modern space. Today, it's eerily quiet. The fridge has long been cleaned out, and the power has been shut off, with no meter even visible outside. Despite the emptiness, it's clear the house has been cleaned and possibly prepped for sale, with numbered air fresheners left behind and walls partially repainted. Each room tells a little more of the story. A purple-painted bedroom suggests it was once a feminine space, maybe Aaliyah's own, or that of a close family member. Stickers on the walls of another room point to a child's room, adding a more personal, lived-in feel to the abandoned structure. One of the most impressive features of the townhouse is the sheer size of the living room, open and spacious, once filled with light and energy. Now, scattered remnants hint at past gatherings, laughter, and music that once filled the air. The home's current state, though empty, still whispers of its glamorous past. At one time, this property was rumored to be worth as much as $2.9 million, maybe even more. But today, it sits untouched, its value more sentimental than monetary. Ownership of the house has been linked to various individuals, from minor league baseball coaches to other celebrities like Rihanna, though none of these claims have been fully confirmed. Inside Aaliyah's former, now abandoned $5 million mansion. Once a stunning example of luxury and elegance, Aaliyah's former $5 million mansion now stands eerily silent, abandoned, empty, and slowly fading from its once glamorous past. The home, located in a private and upscale neighborhood, was purchased by the late Princess of R&B during the height of her meteoric rise to fame. Though it's unclear exactly when she acquired the property, it's widely believed to have been one of her personal retreats, a private space far from the spotlight where she could relax, reflect, and create. Walking through the mansion today feels like stepping into a forgotten world. The grand staircase, still intact, greets visitors with a quiet grace, leading the eye up toward spiral staircases and rooms that stretch out endlessly. The house is massive in scale, but noticeably empty. It's as if time simply stopped. One of the most talked-about features of the mansion is the indoor pool, a luxurious amenity that, while hard to spot at first, reveals itself down a hallway past what appears to be a sauna or possibly a poolside shower room. The pool area is breathtaking in design, although years of neglect have left it lifeless. The water long gone and the tiles dulled. In its prime, this home had everything. A bar area perfect for entertaining still holds the shape of what was once a lively centerpiece. There's a huge kitchen filled with natural light, though now there's no running water or electricity. Despite the lack of power, the house somehow holds on to its charm. There are multiple bedrooms scattered throughout the home, each one large, with walk-in closets and custom touches, like pastel walls in one room, suggesting it may have once belonged to a child or someone with a flair for softer aesthetics. The bathrooms are a mix of outdated opulence and disrepair, with one entirely pink bathroom still standing out, despite its worn fixtures. As the explorers move through the mansion, signs of recent activity pop up. New paint here and there, numbered air fresheners, and the early signs of renovation. Someone, it seems, had plans to restore or sell the property. But those plans must have been abandoned, too. The basement holds little more than discarded piping and what appears to be a stack of trash. Yet even there, someone found an old photograph, a piece of history left behind like a ghost of the past. This mansion is more than just an empty house. It's a snapshot of a life interrupted, a space that once belonged to a rising star with dreams, loved ones, and a future that was tragically cut short. Today it sits as a quiet tribute to Aaliyah, her legacy echoing through the halls she once walked. The terrifying last minutes of Aaliyah. At the height of her career, Aaliyah had already left an unforgettable mark on the music world. Known as the Princess of R&B, she was not just a rising star, she was on her way to becoming a true legend. Her smooth, crisp soprano voice was shaping the sound of a new generation, influencing the future of R&B, pop, and hip-hop. By the time she was just 22, Aaliyah had achieved what many artists could only dream of. She had broken records, topped charts, and become one of the most successful female performers of her time. Her talent, style, and presence made her a force in the industry, with a career that seemed unstoppable. But just as she was reaching new heights, tragedy struck. In the midst of her success, Aaliyah's life was cut short by a devastating plane crash, a moment that sent shockwaves through Detroit, her hometown, and across the world. This is the story of Aaliyah, the brilliance she brought to music, and the heartbreaking end that silenced one of R&B's brightest voices. Aaliyah Dana Houghton was born on January 16, 1979, in Brooklyn, New York, to Diane and Michael Houghton. When she was just 5 years old, her family relocated to Detroit, where she would grow up surrounded by music and creativity. Her mother, Diane, had a background in singing, while her father, Michael, worked as a factory manager, supporting the family's dreams. From a young age, Aaliyah was drawn to the spotlight. She loved not just singing, but also acting and dancing, often performing at local events. While attending Jesu Catholic Elementary School, she was cast in the school production of Annie. That experience sparked something in her. It was then she realized she wanted to be an entertainer. Music ran deep in her family. In addition to her mother's influence, Aaliyah's uncle, Barry Hankerson, was a major figure in the industry. He founded Blackground Records and was married to soul legend Gladys Knight. With such strong connections and inspiration around her, it was no surprise that Aaliyah's passion for music only grew stronger. As a teenager, she faced her share of challenges. She didn't win the Star Search competition, but that didn't stop her. Determined to succeed, she kept honing her talent, never losing sight of her dream. At just 11 years old, she had the rare opportunity to perform with Gladys Knight for 5 nights in Las Vegas, a moment that would shape her forever. Aaliyah remained focused, balancing her rising career with her education. In 1997, she graduated from Detroit Performing Arts High School with a perfect 4.0 GPA, a testament to her discipline and drive. But for Aaliyah, this was only the beginning. She knew she was meant for more and was willing to put in the work to reach the top. Her family stood by her every step of the way, making sacrifices to support her ambitions. They took her to lessons, paid for her training, and were always there as her biggest cheerleaders. Reflecting on that time, Aaliyah once said, "When I told my parents that I wanted to embark on this path, they were with me all the way. They made sure she had every opportunity to shine, from rehearsals to performances, even helping with the school plays, ensuring every detail was in place. For Aaliyah, their belief in her meant everything, and with that love and support, she was ready to take on the world." By the time she was just 12 years old, Aaliyah had already landed a record deal with Jive Records, as well as with her uncle Barry Hankerson's label, Blackground Records. It was through this connection that she was introduced to R. Kelly, who took on the role of her mentor and became the lead songwriter and producer for her debut album. In 1994, at only 14, Aaliyah released her first album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. The album was an immediate success. Her debut single, Back and Forth, climbed to the top 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 and secured the #1 spot on the R&B charts, launching her into stardom almost overnight. Her next single, a soulful cover of At Your Best, You Are Love, by the Isley Brothers, also soared up the charts, reaching the Billboard Hot 100's top 10 and peaking at #2 on R&B radio. The album itself was eventually certified double platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America, a major achievement for such a young artist. Aaliyah once recalled those early days with a mix of nerves and excitement. "I still remember how nervous I was right before Back and Forth came out. I kept wondering if people would accept it. When it went gold, I had my answer, and it was just such an incredibly satisfying feeling." However, behind her rising success, controversy began to shadow her career. Aaliyah's relationship with R. Kelly became a source of intense scrutiny when it was revealed that, at just 15 years old, she had secretly married him. He was 27. Allegations surfaced that he had bribed an official to obtain a fake passport for Aaliyah, allowing the illegal marriage to take place. The marriage was annulled shortly after, once it became public knowledge, as Aaliyah was still a minor and could not legally consent. Despite the scandal, Aaliyah pressed forward. She parted ways with Jive Records and joined Atlantic Records, where her career took a new, exciting turn. Teaming up with producer Timbaland and songwriter Missy Elliott, Aaliyah released her second album, One in a Million. The record was not only a commercial success, but also a groundbreaking work that helped shape the sound of modern R&B. Certified double platinum, it established her as a global star. Her fame quickly spread beyond the U.S. Aaliyah toured and performed in countries around the world, including Europe, Japan, and South Africa, captivating international audiences with her unique voice and style. Aaliyah's talents extended far beyond music, and by the late 1990s, she was eager to make her mark in the world of acting. After the success of her second album, she spoke warmly about her creative collaborations, especially with producer Timbaland. "I love working with Timbaland," she said. "He understands what I can do and always wants to try new things. We have great chemistry. We're musical soulmates." But Aaliyah wasn't just focused on music. She had her eyes set on the big screen. In addition to releasing hit singles and contributing to soundtracks, like for the animated film Anastasia, she was preparing for a new challenge: acting. In 1999, she landed her first major role in Romeo Must Die, an action film that would officially kick off her film career. She took her role seriously, dedicating time to prepare for the physically demanding scenes. "I studied for 1 month in preparation for the fight scenes in Romeo," she said. My brother Rashad and I took some martial arts classes when we were younger, so I had some knowledge of the process. Working alongside martial arts legend Jet Li was a highlight for her. Jet Li is really amazing. He's such a natural, he just came in and did his part. It only took 3 days to shoot. Her playful side shone through when asked about her experience during award season. At the MTV Movie Awards, she joked, "A lot of media asked me if there were any categories that I would like to see added to the awards. Actually, I would say best hug and dance scene in the movie." Though she and Jet Li never shared a romantic scene, she recalled, "We do have a hot dance sequence. I will never forget the R&B team and their kindness towards me, my brother, and my mom and dad." In 2001, Aaliyah took on an even more ambitious role in the horror fantasy film Queen of the Damned, where she played Akasha, an ancient and powerful vampire queen. The role showcased a different side of her, highlighting her versatility as an artist. Even as her acting career gained momentum, Aaliyah never strayed far from her musical roots. In July 2001, she released her third album, simply titled Aaliyah. The album was another success, debuting at number 2 on the U.S. charts and selling over 2.4 million copies worldwide. Tragically, just as her career in both music and film was reaching new heights, Aaliyah's life was cut short. Despite the incredible promise of what was to come, her time at the top was heartbreakingly brief. Flight to the Bahamas. On August 23, 2001, Aaliyah traveled to the Bahamas with a small team from Virgin Records America. They had chartered 2 flights through Sky Limo using a Fairchild Metro 3 to shoot the music video for her song Rock the Boat. What was meant to be a routine trip for work would soon become one of the most tragic moments in music history. The video shoot went smoothly, and they finished earlier than expected. Originally, the plan was to return to Florida the following day, but with the project wrapped up, the group decided to head home on August 25th instead. That afternoon, Aaliyah and her entourage made their way to Marsh Harbor Airport, ready to leave. Along with Aaliyah was her pilot Luis Morales, hairstylist Eric Foreman, Anthony Dodd, security guard Scott Galian, makeup artist Christopher Maldonado, and Blackground Records employees Douglas Kratz and Gina Smith. When they arrived at the airport, frustration quickly set in. The plane they had chartered hadn't arrived at the scheduled 4:30 p.m. departure time. The delay made the group restless. After waiting for nearly 2 hours, the twin-engine Cessna 402 finally arrived at 6:15 p.m. There was one more unexpected complication. The aircraft was noticeably smaller than the Cessna 404 they had originally flown in. Despite this, and anxious to get home, they prepared to board the flight that would change everything. Concerns and warnings. The plane was piloted by Luis Antonio Morales, a 30-year-old with several years of experience. He began his flight training in 1985 and earned his private pilot's license for single-engine aircraft in 1999. Despite his background, Morales had only recently joined Black Hawk International Airlines just 2 days before the tragic flight, on August 23, 2001. As the crew prepared to depart, Morales reportedly voiced concerns about the plane being overloaded. He warned that the weight on board exceeded safe limits for the aircraft, but after waiting hours for the plane to arrive, the group was eager to leave. Despite the pilot's objections, they decided to proceed with the flight. Aaliyah, known to be a nervous flyer, was especially uneasy that day. She complained of a headache and general discomfort, likely brought on by her anxiety about flying. To calm herself, she stayed in the back seat of the cab that had driven her and her team to the airport, seeking a moment of quiet away from the chaos of the delayed flight. While she sat in the cab, a member of her crew came to check on her. Aaliyah shared her fears about the flight and expressed that she didn't want to board the plane. She was hesitant, uneasy, and clearly troubled by the situation. 13-year-old Kingsley Russell, whose stepmother had driven Aaliyah and her team to the airport, later recalled these moments. His family ran a cab business in the Bahamas, and he had helped carry luggage that day. According to Kingsley, Aaliyah initially refused to get on the plane after seeing it, choosing instead to return to the cab. To help ease her anxiety, someone gave her a sleeping pill. As the rest of the group and the pilot prepared for departure, Aaliyah drifted into sleep in the back of the car. When it was time to leave, despite her earlier insistence that she didn't want to fly, Aaliyah was carried onto the plane while still unconscious from the pill. She was unaware that she had been placed on board. The crash. The weather was clear that evening, and at around 6:45 p.m., the twin-engine Cessna 402 took off from runway 27. The plane accelerated rapidly, lifting off into the air. As it reached approximately 40 feet in altitude, it suddenly banked sharply to the left. Moments later, the nose dipped, and the aircraft crashed into the marshy terrain beside the runway. The impact was devastating. The plane's left wing and nose hit the ground first, causing it to roll violently before coming to rest about 300 feet from the end of the runway, facing east. The crash left the aircraft in pieces, and a fire quickly broke out, consuming much of the wreckage. Roughly 135 square meters of the south side of the runway were strewn with debris. Louis Key, a 25-year-old charter pilot working nearby, witnessed the crash unfold from about half a mile away. He later recalled seeing the Cessna struggle at just 60 to 100 feet above the ground before it went down. Rushing to the scene, he was met with a horrific sight. "It was awful. Some of the bodies were so badly disfigured you couldn't even recognize them," he said. "Two people were still alive, one of them screaming for help, burned all over." Louis had seen plane crashes before, but this one, he admitted, was one of the worst. "It was devastating." The force of the crash tore the aircraft apart, scattering pieces of the plane and seats across the field. When first responders arrived, they found Aaliyah's body about 20 meters from the wreckage. She had died instantly. An autopsy later revealed that she suffered severe burns and head trauma. The coroner noted that Aaliyah had gone into shock just before the crash, which had weakened her heart. Even if she had survived the impact, her injuries were so critical that she may never have fully recovered. Aaliyah, the rising star known as the Princess of R&B, was only 22 years old. How much was Aaliyah worth at the time of her death? When Aaliyah tragically lost her life in a plane crash in 2001, she left behind a grieving family, heartbroken friends, and countless fans around the world who still mourn her passing. At the time of her death, Aaliyah's cousin, Jomo Hankerson, reflected on the depth of her spirit and the joy she brought to those around her. "Aaliyah had an old soul," he said. "She seemed like she was living everything in rewind, like she'd already done all of this. She had this personality that was contagious. It was never just a job when you were working with her. You always had fun. Good kid fun." Her passing also deeply affected many in the music industry, including rapper DMX, who shared a close bond with Aaliyah. Their friendship was so meaningful that years later, DMX named his daughter, born in 2011 after her, a lasting tribute to someone he held dear. At the time of her tragic death, Aaliyah's net worth was estimated to be around $8 million, according to Celebrity Net Worth. She wasn't just a music superstar at the peak of her career. She was also on the verge of breaking into Hollywood in a big way. Aaliyah had already starred in two successful films, Romeo Must Die and Queen of the Damned. She had even begun filming scenes for both The Matrix Reloaded and The Matrix Revolutions in Los Angeles before her life was cut short. For her role in Romeo Must Die, Aaliyah earned $1.5 million, but her paycheck for Queen of the Damned was even higher, reportedly $5 million. Her transition from music to film was gaining serious momentum, and she was determined to make her mark as an actress. Aaliyah took her acting ambitions seriously. She sought out Harold Guskin, a renowned acting coach who had worked with the likes of Kevin Kline, Glenn Close, and Matt Dillon. For 6 months, they met several times a week, dedicating themselves to honing her craft. Guskin later shared with Rolling Stone, "We worked very seriously. She was a great student, very smart, incredibly emotionally available, and she had a wonderful imagination. Aaliyah was ready to take the next step in her career, but tragically, she never got the chance to see how far she could go." Here's who inherited Aaliyah's money after she died. According to Music Ally, Aaliyah's estate was left to her mother, Diane Houghton, and her brother, Rashad. However, her music became the center of a long-standing family feud that kept most of it off streaming platforms until mid-2021. While her mother and brother control her estate, the majority of her music catalog is owned by her uncle, Barry Hankerson. Hankerson, who founded Blackground Records in the late 1990s, specifically to release Aaliyah's music, has long held the rights to her recordings. This division sparked years of disagreement over how her legacy should be managed. In fact, in 2021, nearly 2 decades after Aaliyah's passing, the conflict over her music was still ongoing. Her estate had announced back in August 2020 that they were in talks with record labels to finally bring her music to streaming services, but despite the excitement, no official release followed. Then, without the estate's approval, Blackground Records declared that Aaliyah's catalog would finally be available online. This move didn't sit well with her family. According to the Los Angeles Times, Aaliyah's estate responded publicly, stating that their main concern had always been protecting Aaliyah's legacy. On Instagram, they expressed frustration, saying, "For 20 years we have battled behind the scenes, enduring shadowy tactics of deception with unauthorized projects targeted to tarnish." While the language was formal, it was clear they were upset about not having control, and likely a share, over the release. Despite the objections, Barry Hankerson, as the legal owner of most of Aaliyah's music, went ahead with the release. Today, her songs are finally available on Spotify and other major streaming platforms, giving fans access to the music they had waited years to hear again. The family feud may have delayed it, but Aaliyah's voice has once again found its place in the world. What do you think about the way her legacy has been handled? Do you believe her music should have been released sooner? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more in-depth stories about Aaliyah's life. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.